party down, location mysterious. Wanna rock this con like my man James Tiberius. Jesse and Marina, they're mad clever like the Negus. Gonna guide you through the scenes, beam from London to Las Vegas. Where to go, how to dress, when to sleep, who to see. Celebs not to miss, Sardis Wong and SMG. Star Trek into awesome, build some memories at last. Set the proper course, the Shore Leave Podcast. Boom.
And welcome to the 79th episode of Shore Leave, your Star Trek Convention Community Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Marina Kravchuk, and with me, as always, is my compadre, Jesse Okendo. Jesse, how are you?
Hello, doing good. You just got off of a con, and Dragon Con just left town, so we're doing pretty good right now.
Yeah, and I just literally left, well, let's see, this weekend. We're recording this September 13th, so the small sci-fi summit convention in New Jersey just ended, and I believe one of our guests also was at a different, well, we'll get to that in a bit, but bottom line, it seems like the convention circuit is coming alive, and even though we're a little bit late, we decided that we still need to pay dues to our favorite Star Trek Las Vegas convention, even though, again, almost a month has passed now that we're recording this. Yeah, almost exactly a month. So we decided we're going to do a sort of a conversational, as usual, no agenda. Jesse, would you like to introduce our guests?
Sure. So joining us today, we have Eric. Eric, you want to introduce yourself, where you're from, all that good stuff?
All that good stuff. Hey, everybody. I'm Eric Profancic, living here in Cincinnati, Ohio. You might have seen me around. I am the admin of the Star Trek Las Vegas USS Rio Facebook group. So when I'm usually running around like a madman at the con. So that's me. Hello.
Yeah, and I saw on Facebook you posted pictures. You also went to a convention this past weekend.
Yes, I did. I went to a local convention called Horror Hound. It's all about the horror movies and all that good stuff. I enjoyed my time there. I'm not a huge horror fan. I went for some of the guests, but it was a very nice, refreshing change of pace to do something besides a sci-fi convention.
Yeah, it's funny how it seems to be like a refrain recently for those people who have gone to in-person conventions. Finally, that what a refreshing diversion. Finally, we're going back to conventions and starting to finally see people in 3D. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
All right. And our second guest?
Our second guest, Steven. You want to introduce yourself? And guys, just bear with us. He's coming off a all-night shift, but it's already tomorrow for him. Introduce yourself, Steven.
It indeed is. Yes, my name's Stephen, and I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I unfortunately have had not the luck of you guys to be able to attend any in-person conventions due to all the restrictions and travel bans. However, I'm getting involved online through many of the conventions, and I'm enjoying the opportunities that a lot of the conventions are offering digitally, so that I can enjoy the wonderful world of Star Trek.
Great. Well, and you've been to the Star Trek Las Vegas convention, right? You've been.
Yeah.
That's where I met you. Okay. Yeah, it's always hard for me to remember where I met people, but anyway. All right.
I think Las Vegas is usually the bet, the best bet.
We got one more joiner, it looks like.
Hey, I'm Jamie Snyder. I've known Jesse for 4 or 5 years, I think. Been to Vegas. I think this was my 8th time.
Yeah, convention buddies we are. So.
Yeah.
And the cruise. Yeah. So you've been to everything I've been to.
So we decided to do a conversation. 3 of us have actually gone to Star Trek Las Vegas, Eric, Jamie, and myself. And Jesse and Steven got to experience it online. I have noticed that a lot of people were posting like crazy, even though there were not as many attendees as was expected. Nevertheless, so we just going to do sort of a comparative thing. On one hand, we're going to share our experiences, and it's going to be curious to see how pretty much the regulars who normally probably would have attended got to sadly get secondhand experience. I mean, thank goodness for social media, but still, was it enough? Was it very much an FOMO? I'm sure. Let's start with you, Eric. Let's actually just our first impressions, your overall feeling. Like, how do you feel? How did it go for you?
I am with the consensus agreement that it was a more subdued, quieter, calmer convention. That creation did the best out of a bad situation. I enjoyed myself very much for the different atmosphere that it was. But it was still a very good and very enjoyable Star Trek or sci-fi convention.
Yeah, I have to agree. I try to push myself not to think too much of it. So basically, I'm coming, then I'm arriving without any kind of expectations based on the prior decade of going to Vegas. And my overall impression was I was deeply, deeply pleased and satisfied, because everything, like even the little things where you can see that they're getting another curveball, somebody canceled in the middle of convention, but they managed to catch it and pivot and make the best out of it, like you said, out of a very unfortunate situation. Jesse, you're a regular at this point. How did it feel? I mean, all of a sudden, not only are you getting memories on Facebook from years past of the STLVs from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but all of a sudden we're getting the fresh influx. Yay, I made it to Vegas, and pictures and the palm trees and people getting together in the masquerade bar. How did it, I suppose, how did it feel? Like, what did you guys think when the time came?
So I didn't think that I would feel anything. Like it was just something I missed, right? But like, it actually was pretty depressing. I'll be 100% honest. Like, I think I had to tune it out on Saturday just because like it was just getting to me. What I saw was good. Like I was able to keep up with what the shenanigans and all the stuff that was going on. And I mean, if I'd had been there, I think I would have had a decent time, just because like it's never really about who's on stage, more about who shows up. And it looks like the usual suspects were there for the most part, right?
Yeah, so, for the most part, yes. I mean, obviously, and that's something that we talked about in our prep episode. The entire international contingent was not there, even our Canadian friends, and that was very much felt, because I can start naming names, but pretty much no one that I got used to seeing every day for a week, that time of the year, I wasn't there, unfortunately. And yeah, that was a very sad part of this. And then of course, but the action did pick up, and even though Eric put it exactly correctly, this was a very laid back event, primarily because we were, I'd say, we're probably on average at probably about 50% capacity. Some days were extremely slow, like Wednesday. Saturday certainly picked up. But overall, it was very, I literally had a single conflict the entire week, which is unprecedented.
I was just going to say, I mean, as everyone has said, the corridors had a lot more space to walk. The rooms were a lot more empty. I never felt pressure that I had to run from A to B as I do in years past, because I'm a little bit more of the, I'm a gold seat, and I have this weird hyper focus when I get to Vegas that, I have to maximize my gold dollars, and I have to go to all these panels, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. So contrary to what a lot of people say, I am all about the convention and the people and seeing all that, and doing the friend thing at night. So, but with the laid back atmosphere this year, there wasn't quite so much pressure on my type A brain to do all that.
And even though there was no pressure and there was far less intensity, nevertheless, I realized as I looked through, I was packing my little spreadsheets that I create, and I realized that this was a very full week. I actually managed to do a lot of stuff and photo ops and selfies and see a lot of people and fan get-togethers, which we will definitely talk about, because that was probably the most wonderful part of this experience. It was still a very full convention. Like, there was nothing like, I didn't get to do this. No, everything every single piece, the autographs and doing this.
It's almost like you got to do more.
Maybe it just felt because it was like it was a way of kind of like do it in a much more reasonable pace.
Right.
Kind of like, this was a full week, but funny thing is, quite a few people, Eric, I don't know if you noticed that, we're complaining probably already by Thursday, like, oh my goodness, I'm kind of dragging my feet, I'm so tired. And everybody kind of came to the, at least those people that I got to chat with, the expression that was used, con out of shape, because we haven't done this in such a long time. you kind of forget that, yeah, it's 5 days of movement non-stop.
Yeah.
So many,
30,000 steps a day.
Yeah,
exactly.
we haven't
Exactly.
we haven't had that much energy in the past year or so, I would say that. So I'm curious though, like, so I know we missed the international contingency. So Stephen, like on your end, like it's kind of been worse, I would say, for Australia in terms of getting out and being able to like partake in activities. I mean, it's not just conventions, you're kind of locked in there a lot, right?
We are locked in. Our borders are locked shut. So we're locked in and everyone else is locked out. So I feel like I'm punished. But in saying that, I found, I guess I represent a lot of the people at, internationally, have found a different way to celebrate Star Trek and also a different way to participate in the conventions. I've been able to really enjoy myself just seeing people post their pictures, their videos, the guest speakers. By doing that and getting more involved digitally, it's allowed a worldwide audience and people like me to be able to participate more virtually. I've really enjoyed it and I've really taken it all in. If anything, it's really grown my appreciation and love of Star Trek and the Star Trek fandom even more, because throughout these hard times, I've realized we're all here to look out for each other. We're all here to share the love. We're all here to come closer. And I've really noticed that through this entire pandemic. So you guys in particular, I just want to thank you so much for being able to embrace the Star Trek community and just really share your experiences with all of us that otherwise just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I will tell you, like one of the best things I like about Star Trek Las Vegas is always just the diversity in the crowd and how international it is, you know. And I couldn't have gone this year if I wanted to, I think, because I had back surgery. So like Dragon Con was like up the road and I couldn't even go to that because I couldn't stand on the MARTA for longer than 20 minutes, you know. But so I kind of being this observer, though, I guess what it helped me to realize just how much of a family kind of venue these conventions are, right? Because it wasn't about, I've never been one for so-and-so canceled, or that guy didn't cancel, or this guy did, you know. It's always just been about that core group. And Marina, you know it, because it's like, there's just this core group of people that are everywhere. So like whether it's the cruise or a convention, you know, we see the same faces. And
Yeah.
more than anything, that's what I miss, is seeing that kind of that core group of people.
I mean, yeah,
flying
it's
around.
you're absolutely right. It certainly is, especially over the past decade, it sort of became this, you know, family reunion. And you know, interesting thing that I noticed, there were quite a few new attendees. As Larry Nebichik jokes, like, you picked a great year to do your first STLV. Nevertheless, there were a lot of people, and they were thrilled. You know, and quite a few of them, the ones, I mean, the very few that I actually did get to ask, you know, so what do you think? You know, how did you like it? They thought it was great because they were welcomed. You know, people were happy to see new folks joining in and participating in the panels and doing all this stuff and sharing, like, all the little hacks and tricks that we all learned over the years. So in that regard, this year, you know, this whole thing about, you know, actually getting together with other people, communicating with other people in person and doing the hangouts and even just the regular bar get-togethers, it's all kind of was like very much a heightened experience. It was very much in your face. Speaking of generally representation and everything, yes, the international representation certainly was missing, but I did notice something, and I actually wanted to ask Eric if you noticed the same thing. For some reason, this particular year, we had the most incredible LGBTQA plus represent, like, everywhere. The banners and the programs, and the Lambda Quadrant actually did us a huge favor because they helped us out with the Newbies and Travelers meetup that we normally hold on Tuesdays. So there was just so much, and I'm like, for some reason, I mean, it's always been a very friendly atmosphere, but for some reason, this particular year, it was very much present and welcomed, and it was just such a tremendous experience just to see that.
I gotta say, I was impressed. Even being here, I'm like, holy crap, there's just a lot of representation.
I said the same thing. I also admin the Queer Trek group, and I made a post about that in our group saying that, just what you said, we were everywhere. And I don't know if it was the fact that there were more of us or just more the same, but we seemed more in proportion to the fact that, half of the normal crowd was missing. But yes, we were there, we were out, we were loud, we were proud, the old cliche. So, but it was a gay old time. Yeah, what I think, one thing I want to say is, I think overall people enjoyed their time. There's things you can nitpick and things you can be unhappy about. But I think I walked away from this weekend or last month, the weekend, feeling that yes, I had attended a creation convention celebrating Star Trek, as we always had. It felt a little different, but it was still what you would expect, and they had a good time.
Yeah, it was a wonderful celebration. So now that Jamie actually can participate in the conversation, what are your feelings? Like Eric and I got to share our experiences briefly because we didn't go into too much detail, but how did you feel? Like for you, how was the experience?
I really enjoyed it a lot. It was definitely, like you said, it was definitely a creation convention. It was fun. It was subdued. It was slightly different with all the safety precautions, but those were all completely understandable. And they did the best they could with the situation we were all handed. And I think everything came out really, really well.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see the family again because I missed all my people.
And you only live like a state away from me. I don't know why we don't see each other.
Yeah, we're not that far away.
Well, speaking of precautions, actually something that Jamie brought up, this I have to say that I was pretty impressed. Yes, as we kind of went on, especially in the bars, like once it was not inside the convention facilities, I think some of the folks started to get a little bit lax with as far as the mask wearing, again, in the bars. But within the convention, like within the convention hours inside the halls, everyone followed the rules. So, I did not hear about anyone, I don't know, any issues or scandals or somebody's making, pardon the language, ass of themselves. But no, like everything that they set up, everything that they described beforehand in the protocols, you either show the proof of vaccination or do the tests. Everybody was wearing all these multicolored wristbands. That part seemed to have gone without a hitch. Eric, you haven't heard anything, right?
No, I mean, I agree with you. Everything went off without a hitch. It was the first time that I had worn a face mask for 8+ hours at a time. So that got a little old after 5 days. But I admit I had a little bit of a discussion with someone that sat next to me and wasn't wearing their face mask right. So we had a little bit of words and got that situation resolved, but that was just one person out of the whole week, and everything was pretty much up to code.
I guess I was expecting to hear maybe for my desire for drama, but I was really expecting someone to enforce their rights by not masking, and I didn't see any of that. It seemed very, I could see that towards the end of the week people got tired of wearing their masks. I could definitely see that, especially in the bar pictures, night afternoon. Either a lot of people are drinking all at the same time, or
no, but it was very specific. But overall, I think there was also the when you kind of got used to it. Yeah, at first it was like Eric said, you have an entire day and you're in the mask, and it kind of, it's very tiring. But at the same time, once you've done, the whole spiel, like how do you do the photo op, the official photo ops, how do you do the selfies? It kind of became a little routine. People got used to it, and it sort of became a part of the experience, at least for that week.
Yeah.
So
that's what you had to do to enjoy the week. It was worth it.
Yeah, and it worked, at least for the most part. Again, just I heard about one person who complained about showing proof of vaccination, but it was like that was it was just a complaint. They still went on and did it, and in order to be let in, register and actually attend the convention. But overall, that part seemed to have worked. Knock on wood. I'm very glad. Something that I wanted to actually kind of back up. So I know Eric did gold. I was also gold this week. Jamie, which tier did you do?
I was general admission.
Oh, okay.
I've done the last several years.
Now that we know that next year is going to be in a different venue because Rio, there is an official confirmation it will be renovated. Um, Eric, did you keep your gold for next year?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer?
You know what? Go for the long answer because I'm actually curious for your reasoning for keeping it if you did.
So I overthink things. I'm a planner. I think 3 steps ahead as much as I can. So I'm already, as soon as I got there, I went to Bally's and did some, investigation, and I made a post in the Rio, and I went back, and I have some concerns about the move to Bally's. So that was really holding me back. So I did not let me finish. I did not renew the first day or the second day. But then I realized I also had the kickback credit from creation. So that's plus the fact that, and just to say it, not to brag, but maybe I'm humble bragging, I do have front row gold. I don't want to give up that front row seat. So I did renew because that seat is just too darn awesome to give up. So yes, I'm going for it for another year.
Well, that certainly makes sense. Now I've had my current seat for the past, is it 5 years or 4 years? 4 or 5 years. Third row, my sister and I have shared. And this particular, so we decided to drop it, at least temporarily, and primarily for 2 reasons. One is slightly logistical. In the new venue, the way the seating is, now if I remember correctly, the equivalent of main theater, the space that you're going to be using for main theater, is a little bit narrower. So they arranged the seats differently. Now our seats used to be on the aisle, and right now they're slap bang in the middle of the row. So for us in order to get out and easily move around, you literally have to pass 15 or 20 people in either direction. That was kind of like, oh, well, that's a bit of a...
That's interesting because when I looked at the seats, I obviously got a new seat number, but it's in the same location off the aisle. So it's weird.
It's very easy with the front row though, because at least you can just go up at the front and
okay. I don't know. I have to look at that. It just seems odd.
Yeah, but this one was more of a minor reason. The major reason is that this year in particular, it became very apparent that I still enjoy the panels very much. I do manage to attend quite a few during the week, but at the same time, everything else that was connected to the gold, and that was the autographs. I think at this point I'm kind of at a sort of a 30, 70, 40, 60 percentage where, I keep the minor percentage for myself. It's actually somebody that I need. And then I have to either find someone who would, buy it from me, or I have to gift it to someone. So I'm spending all this stuff where, I have to deal with all these autographs that I don't need. My sister and I, we haven't gone to the dinner. And to be perfectly honest, we didn't even miss it. We went to a different get-together that we got invited to, which was absolutely tremendous. And it kind of became very clear that, yes, we do have an excellent seat, but at this point, everything else kind of outweighs having that. So we're letting it go. We're going to flip, and we're going to do something that we did 6-7 years ago. We were preferred, which is now called copper. So that's the aim. Whenever the copper goes on sale, that's what we're going to aim at. But we are planning to come again, of course, because I'm very curious to see how the new location, the new vibe, the new working out all the kinks is going to work out.
I'm curious, Stephen, what do you normally have the same seats, or do you do GA? How do you enjoy the convention?
Well, I haven't been for a few years, sadly, and I was actually planning on going last year, but due to the pandemic, things changed. However, I was at around about the middle area. I had a captain's chair.
Yeah.
And I very much enjoyed the seat I kept for a few years because I loved meeting the same people year after year and just catching up with people in my area. It was absolutely great. I generally have no preference. I'm pretty much open, I guess, to seating arrangements for the next time, because it's been a few years I've lost my seat anyway, we'll just see what happens.
Knock on wood, things get better, because at this point it's very clear that this virus is here to stay. Hopefully the pandemic is going to be over soon, but endemically we'll deal with it whenever. But I just hope
I had the same situation that Eric has now. So like I was in the first row of the captains, which is Q. And so like I had plenty of room to get in and out of seats, right? And we had like a little family up there. But I think what did it for us when we stopped going, it was the last year I was captains, and then we decided not to renew, and then pandemic and whatnot. But like I remember the big deciding factor. Remember when the dinner was like, Marina, you would remember, it was like steak and it was like this really high class meal, you know. And then like the last time I went, it was like a taco bar.
Yeah.
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 It was better again this year. It was a good meal this year.
Okay.
Well, I'm actually curious. So, what was it this year? Because Thursday came and went, and at some point, sometime end of Saturday, I was like, yeah, there was a dinner. How did that one go? Because
I got to remember here. So it started out with they had a quinoa salad, then they had a tomato and mozzarella salad, and a Caesar salad. Then they had chicken breast. They had salmon, and then they had beef, and then there were herb roasted potatoes and vegetables, something else that's not coming to mind, rolls, and dessert. So yeah, it all tasted pretty good.
that actually sounds very decent. Now, I heard claims that they ran out of dessert again.
Yeah, they ran out of dessert again.
Oh,
I think they got to think of the idea maybe next year, just put the desserts on the table, and that way at least there's some on every table, and that's what you get, because
yeah,
first in line, they do grab them up pretty fast.
Yeah, because I'm sure that some people are probably going for seconds and thirds, and they're certainly welcome to. But we definitely know how many people are gold, so there shouldn't be that many issues estimating how many portions you get.
They have plenty of food, but never enough dessert.
Yeah, and I remember, so like what I liked about so I remember when it was up in the voodoo room, right? And like where I went.
Voodoo.
That was a nice.
And like I remember that like I could not find a chair
Right.
like at the bar, and the poor bartender just looked at me like I was some pathetic soul. He's like, "You can eat here." So it was nice when they moved it, even though you missed the view of the voodoo. I mean, there was more space and you can get what you wanted, but then we dessert situation. So I don't know. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
Right. I will vote for this new venue. I like having a seat. I like having room. I like being able to have nice conversations with people at your table. I've enjoyed the gold entertainment acts they provide for the most part. So
What was it this year?
Benverine did it. Yeah.
Yep.
And that I heard very good things about. A lot of people are very happy that he did a performance.
I walked out.
Oh.
He's not my cup of tea, so I just went over to bingo.
Yeah. Well, can we circle back to the moment? Like, I know that you did that reconnaissance of Bally's. Is there anything else that kind of struck you as like, okay, this is definitely going to be different from what we were used to, especially like, for instance, if we're talking about seating in main theater?
Sure.
Because I remember seating. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of supposition and deduction on my part. So the main convention center. So, okay, you walk into Bally's, and it's not a very big place, actually. You walk in, you have the casino. You walk through the casino, and in the back is the main convention area. That's where the big main convention hall is, some smaller rooms and whatnot. That is like in the resort wing of the hotel. Mm-hmm. The problem is that there is more convention space, but it's on the opposite side of the casino. So you have to walk through the casino and go up an escalator to the Jubilee section, where there is another large room and some more convention space. So based on what we know from creation, that there are going to be the main theater and the secondary theater. So that's 2 big rooms. And if you're going to have a vendor's room, that's 3 big rooms. So they're going to have to use all 3 big rooms, which means you're going to have to travel back and forth through the casino to get to all these rooms. So that may or may not pose a problem for some people. I know smoking is a big issue for a lot of people. And just like I said, just in general walking, having to go, like it's mainly accessible via an escalator, but we have a lot of scooter people. So that elevator traffic could get a little congested. So that's possibly something purely for the casino itself. For Bally's, one thing I noticed, because I like to eat. They do not have a lot of restaurants themselves in Bally's. They have downstairs. So again, you have to go downstairs, down an escalator, down some stairs, down an elevator to get to the food court, which is basically 4 fast food restaurants, like a pizza place, a Subway, an Asian place, and one other place. So that's kind of it, aside from, I think, one high-end restaurant. So if you want to eat, you have to leave Bally's, which, again, people don't necessarily like to walk, go out in the Vegas heat. So you have more options on the Strip, but you now have to walk to them. So it's things like that just kind of had me concerned for our scooter friends and just people that don't necessarily want to walk back and forth through the casino a bunch of times.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not enamored with the casino part because I am one of those people who are very much affected by the smoke.
Right.
Well, we'll see how it's gonna work out. I have to say I am excited the fact that it's on the Strip. There are several of my favorite restaurants that are now gonna be walking distance. So in my case, I'm kind of thrilled that I will not have to be, you know, taking Lyft or taking taxis and so on.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm thinking, outside of the convention hours, after, when it's all done every night. Oh, that's fantastic. Let's get out. Let's go on the Strip. Let's go, tons of options. I just, people that wake up in the morning, want to have a bite to eat, stuff like that, in the middle of the day, where are you going to get a snack? It's like, okay, we got to go downstairs to these 4 little options. And, again, I keep thinking, why is everything on all these different floors? Why is the convention center on 2 floors? Why is the food on another floor? So just...
I'm curious, like out of everyone, I mean, those who attended this year, those who attended generally, always, have you ever actually made use of Quarks? I mean, now it's called Jimmy's Place, but that little area with the salads and little hot food, whatever they're offering. Because I have to admit, ever since they opened it, I've never actually tried it simply because I never have time to stop during the day. So I'm the one who's carrying snacks in the backpack to eat during the panels.
I did, and let me tell you that it got better over time. So I can put my time machine hat on, right? So when they first came up with Quarks, or that place, it was basically cash only hot dogs and burgers. That's
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then the next year, I think they started doing a little credit card, but what really kind of stepped the game was the salads. Because you could just never eat healthy in Quarks until they started bringing the salads and the fruits and that kind of stuff. So it became my go-to for lunches, basically. Because,
one would hope that they will continue on and not remove it because there's lack of space or something. That would provide just an option during the day for those who do want to grab a snack or something.
Yeah, you're right. That definitely has to go, because I think there's always a very goodly amount of people that are in line every time I go. And I have eaten there quite a few times, and I did eat there a couple more times this year. The food pretty much doesn't change, but like Jesse said, it's evolved over the years to be a little healthier, but it's still your hot dog, hamburger, Mediterranean wrap, whatever they call it, turkey and Swiss, and cookies and some fruit. So I think everything's pretty good except for that Mediterranean wrap. I had that one time and that did not work for me. I was really disappointed in that. So, but it's good and convenient, so you don't have to walk down Convention Way to get a quick bite to eat unless you snuck some Nutri-Grain in your backpack.
Yeah, I have to say, I just kind of got into that whole routine of, arrive to Vegas, take a trip to Walmart or Walgreens, not Nutri-Grain. I actually use Kind bars. They're slightly less healthy, but they're still very wonderful and tasty. And it kind of carries me through the day. And then, unhealthy, completely nuts, dinner at some wonderful restaurant in the evening.
Right. That was my old trick. I love the Gold Coast buffet for breakfast, and it was sorely missed this year.
Eric did love the Gold Coast buffet.
Yeah, that was a weird thing, because multiple hotels obviously have buffets, and all of them being closed. If you pass by, it's kind of like, this is just so weird, because you kind of used to the place hopping.
Exactly.
For
just a couple of dollars, you could fill up on decent food, get a nice fresh made omelet, and that's what would tide me through the day. I had to have a nice healthy breakfast. So that is where I'm thinking ahead to next year, because there's no buffet in Bally's. There's one attached to Paris, but I've been there and it's actually a delicious buffet, but
Paris has a good one. Yep.
It's not a $10 breakfast buffet. It's going to be a $30 breakfast buffet.
Yeah.
So
and again, you have to walk. Yeah.
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 So Jamie, what's your go-to for food when you're at the convention?
I'm real bad about forgetting to eat because I'm so excited and hanging out with people. I'm not normally a breakfast person anyways, so of course that's not good anyways. But then I almost never eat lunch. I always splurge at dinner. My go-to though is always smash burger though because it's quick, it's easy, it's very filling. I love smash burger. I think I ate there like 5 times this year.
Yes,
Yeah,
smash
so-
burger is the best.
Yep, they do make a
But tell
tasty
me-
burger.
Yeah, so
Especially
tell
if
me,
you have, like,
guys.
drink the night before or something.
Yeah.
It's
So I
really-
remember reading in one of the groups, maybe ours, but was there a problem with the restaurants not opening when you first got there this year?
Well, they did open, had limited hours. So the places were either completely closed, or they would say, okay, we're going to be open Friday and Saturday from this hour to this hour. There was literally like a whole list that Creation finally managed to get from the hotel. Thing is, I don't know if it's somebody from Creation side or somebody else pushed further, or perhaps the hotel themselves realized they are having a fairly sizable crowd and things are working in the sense that people are not being crazy, and they know for 10 years they've seen we're a good crowd, Trekkies. But some of the places actually made an announcement like literally the following day or during the week. Oh, this the Starbucks first there was a limited time, and then they said, yeah, we're not going to be closing this early, we're actually going to push it to our usual closing time at 10 p.m. or whatever it was. Guy Fieri's place all of a sudden without announcement just opened up in the middle of the week, so those people who wanted to have nice sit downs together, everybody rushed in, and I'm sure they did fairly nice business. So yeah, it started out, it was a little bit kind of like, well, this place is closed, where do we do for dinner if it's late, because sports deli doesn't quite cut it, if you want to have something a little bit nicer instead of just a slice of pizza. But as the week progressed, things started to open up or extend their hours, so that was a very nice thing that happened.
Yeah, Hash House stayed open later than they normally do. Like you said, Guy Fieri's just magically opened up, and then every time I passed, there was a line literally out the door, like almost into the convention or almost into the casino itself. It was always packed.
Yeah.
So Stephen, what's your go-to when you're at the convention? Where do you eat?
I am not a big eater myself at all.
Okay, I'm the pig of the group. I love to eat.
I love to eat.
And I do too, same.
I'm literally so excited that I totally forget to eat all the time. I'm just so busy running around on my feet every day. However, that all makes up for a big dinner I always have at night all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to like various different restaurants out on the strips. Being a vegetarian, it's actually really difficult though. So my palate, I guess, choices gets a bit limited. However, I attend various different little parties we have every night at the different restaurants. I've done a couple of different events with Robert Picardo where he's done some fundraising. We've just gone to one of the restaurants and we've had a great time. Unfortunately, what I don't eat, I end up drinking far too much every night.
Yeah,
That never happens to me.
I'm going to tell you the amount of times I cannot remember what I did that night. Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
The saying is true. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
We need Uncle George to do an oh my right now.
Yeah.
Just a quick rewind. I forgot who said this. Someone mentioned lines. And I got my brain thinking back to one more thing as a potential hiccup at Bally's. When you walk through the casino, you pass it. First thing you hit is the elevators for the resort room tower. So I know a lot of people are gravitating to get their room in the resort room because that's closest to the convention area. But once you get right past that, you pretty much are in the convention hallway. And it's actually a very short hallway, and there's not a really big rotunda area that Creation can use for their admissions and ticketing and processing area. So I think that knowing us, that we like to line up in mass, that if you do, that line is going to be in the casino. So that's just something, again, that crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And I mean, regardless, I remember the first year I went was my birthday present to myself was to go to a Star Trek convention, and like I was gold, and I remember coming down just to see where the convention was, and this was the day that they were going to open up early, right? You know how they open up gold early and let you in the room, vendor's room. So I went really early, like it was like maybe noon, and like they weren't going to open till like 4, and that line was just crazy. People who already had tickets.
Yeah.
We do like to line up.
We do like to line up. I this year, because I have a good seats, I saw absolutely no need to line up Tuesday to get my gold ticket. So some friends and I, we went to like the Mob Museum all afternoon, did our thing, and when we came back, just kind of came in and jumped into registration, and there was no line. It was like, oh, what a pleasant change.
Yeah.
So I never really saw a lot of lines this year. I mean, there were some every morning for the people getting their daily tickets, but it all was pretty darn efficient this year.
Yeah. Overall, it was. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jamie.
No, I'm saying it was really well. I didn't even pre-register this year either. I just waited till Thursday morning, got in line. It wasn't very bad. I didn't want to line up. I just wasn't feeling it this year. Extra precaution, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually I don't line up early because again, no plans to move up or change the seat, and this year especially, now that the plan was we're dropping it, but I usually like to hang out with other people, just basically circulating and saying hi and chatting, and especially a lot of catching up this year, of course. But they started the golds probably I want to say about 10-15 minutes late. But once they actually started, it was the usual bang, 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 bang. Two people were walking down the line checking the vaccination status, and then 2 people at the front just, they doing the usual click, little stars through your printed PDF, and go through. They put the wristband. Actually, so we all ended up with 2 wristbands if you were a package ticket holder. I kind of feel bad for the daily ticket holders because they would end up with multiple wristbands. And
the number of
done.
wristbands
Literally
was scary. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw some.
Yes, somebody posted a picture. I forget which was with our group or in the real group. Somebody posted because they did Groupon. So they had 5 days of admission wristbands and 5 days of vaccination status wristbands. So like 10 wristbands. And obviously they weren't wearing them. Actually, you know what? No, they were wearing them because that's that Tyvek material that you can't really,
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And the security guards had to have a little a cheat sheet of the color code of the day. What are the acceptable colors today?
Do you know something? I actually thought that the vaccination wristband was just one. So you have one color, and you could see that the person is either tested or vaccinated. But apparently it changed because they ran out of some colors, or maybe they didn't have them to begin with, and they just planned like, okay, this color and this color is good, and this color and this color means something else. But
they accept like digital vaccination records.
Yes, yeah, it was either if you had a photo of it or some other, so you didn't necessarily have to have a physical card with you. That a copy was acceptable.
I guess the other outsider looking in this year, I was expecting someone to come up at the fake vaccination card as it's happening in some of our airports right now. It's crazy. But I just was I will say I was very impressed of being a Star Trek fan, because I think everybody dealt with it they just dealt with it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I think even if they didn't like it, they just went with the flow and didn't make too much of a fuss in person.
Yeah. And for the most part, I'm sure that they discovered that wasn't that big of a issue. Again, once it became a routine, get up, put the mask on, go do, have the coffee, meet up with friends, do some photo ops, sit down in the panel, have a dinner, and then rinse and repeat the next day.
Now, I did hear that there was there like a security checkpoint in the weekend?
Yes. And this one, I finally had the confirmation. Kelsey Grammer was one of the headliners for the convention, and he was only there on Saturday. And so there was increased security for was something that was actually related to him. I heard different versions of why. That I do not want to bother to repeat because I'm sure a lot of it is just stories. But bottom line is, once he was done, that's it. Following days, things just went on as always. So that was just a temporary thing. Unfortunately, there was a bit of an inconvenience because they closed the side doors to the main theater. So if you wanted to get in, get out, you had to go to that security checkpoint back and forth, unfortunately.
30,000 steps.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was curious if you guys went into the vendors room and if there's any like differences to the vendors without the CBS license this year, if you could.
This year, not really. It was very light. Again, quite a few vendors were not there. It was very spread out, so that you had far greater distance in the aisles. So people weren't really crowding, even on Saturday. For the most part, it was the same thing. You have, folks who bring lots of older collectibles that it's always fun to dig through the bins or boxes and discover, either old comics or something that, $5. Oh my goodness, look at this thing. I found the miniature version of the Dickel bottle. So the bottle that Kirk uses for Saurian brandy. That was like an unusual thing. Yeah. Just, go figure. Part of the room was again used for the autographing. One side was occupied by the Discovery cast and the other side by, actually also Discovery cast, but it was just represented by a different company. Quite a few other just random people throughout the area, especially those who could actually literally drop everything and come in the middle to substitute for those who canceled in the middle of the convention.
Well, so I know you went, I know we're not talking about it, but just real quick, compare and contrast to New Jersey convention, I know that Steve had a poster signed, so he's probably anxiously awaiting his signatures to come in the mail.
Well, I would not compare it to Jersey convention because Jersey was, I literally walked through the door. I'm having flashbacks to, 15 years ago. It's a small convention. There's literally even Saturday, there was probably just under 1,000 people there. It's very, very, very small. And plus it was a sci-fi summit. So it wasn't just Trek specific. There were about 23, 25 guests. So, some canceled, others were added. The final total was just over 20. So it was not really. The vendor room was probably twice the size of my living room.
So I remember those smaller. Remember the 50th when they had them all over the place? That's what I remember. No,
but overall, just as a summary, they did a very decent job. It wasn't as expensive precisely because some of the vendors actually trimmed down. They didn't bring all their stuff. For example, I walked in and my first thought was, what happened to Intergalactic? No, he was there. He just did not bring this giant booth that he normally does with costumes and everything. He had a little bit of everything, but it was just tables. So, Intergalactic was still there, just not, bringing a whole bunch of stuff. Fences was there, of course, with some really, really wonderful pins. They had the show exclusives. So we got our usual Las Vegas pin, Las Vegas chip pin with, who was it this year? Was it Captain Kirk?
I think it's Picard this year.
Oh, Picard. Yeah, sorry. Captain Kirk was last year. Yes. Picard from Picard, not from TNG. And they had the very beautiful, that glitter background that they do for the pins, just so gorgeous. The very beautiful 7 of 9 pin. I miss
fan sets. I don't do a lot of pins or anything, but I always manage to get something from fan sets at least once a year. So I missed it.
It's the quality product. Every time you stop by and you find I missed this pin and look at this stuff. They premiered several new pins from the Women of Trek series. 3, I think. Yeah, Balana was there and Una and Savik. So awesome. That's some check out stuff online. They always do great stuff.
Steven, did you get your poster signed in New Jersey?
Yes, I did. I sent one of my good friends over with this a gigantic, and I mean gigantic poster, to be signed by the cast members of Picard that were there. I think it was about 4 of them. So I'm just waiting to hear a reply on how it went. But he gave me a bit of an update about the convention there. He did say big center, but it was probably no more larger than you're right, Marina, than your probably living room. Um, he was really looking forward to seeing Sonequa. But she said she had a really long line because she took the time to say hello to people. But all in all, it did look good. People seemed to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
I was
there was a lot
wondering
of
how your wares would travel. So you'll have to let us know once it shows up.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going broke for the amount of autographs I'm getting done by people on my behalf at conventions. So I'm just not looking at my bank account right now.
yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it, Stephen. It's so worth it.
So I'm not an impulse buyer, but I will tell you that like when that Tom Paris plate came on from Lower, I bought 2 of them.
Well, let me incidentally. So let's talk about that. Star Trek United was one of the vendors in the Vegas, in the Las Vegas vendor room, and Phrase had all the card, like, well, a little bit of everything. I mean, he had some of the Star Trek dishes. He had the prototype of the Paris plate, so I actually got to hold in my hands, and it's really, really neat. So guess what? I also pre-ordered it, and some other random stuff. So definitely worth checking out. I mean, there's just some new collectibles coming out right now that honestly, they just not necessarily like blow my mind, but they make my brain tickle because it's just so much fun. Star Trek United, and of course, X06 and all the other companies that are currently producing all this wonderful stuff. So all in all, we had a little bit of everything. We had both those who are licensed sellers, so Fansets and Star Trek United, as I mentioned. The gentleman, and I do apologize, I forget his name, but he's the his booth is called the Away Team. All of those, they're licensed sellers, so they were there. Some of the folks that some might have thought that they might be there, like maybe Star Trek Online booth or something, they weren't. And you had the usual sprinkling. I recognized a couple of sellers that always come that sell signed autographs or just older collectibles, like I don't know, Christmas ornaments, that sort of thing. So there was a little bit of everything. And we did have some NASA representation, but unfortunately, and I don't know what happened, they were only there for half a week. At some point, the tables were emptied, and they actually used them for something else later in the weekend. But all in all, it was a fun vendor room to go through, as always. I didn't really think that there was anything extremely different. We shall see what's going to happen next year. Maybe we'll see more variety in terms of other then again, Gary from Creation did mention that they are planning to keep Las Vegas Trek centric. So I think we're just going to continue having this same sprinkling of a little bit of licensed stuff, a little bit of older collectibles going forward. We'll see next year.
Is everyone planning on going to Chicago?
Oh yeah.
I am not me, sorry.
I'm waiting and seeing what's happening because like as I said before, international travel is quite limited. So it's just a wait and see. I don't want to jump the gun and buy a ticket and all of a sudden I can't attend.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah, I know. I'm just like crossing. So the next thing on my plate is the cruise. So I'll be okay to go on a cruise, but I'm still a little iffy as to whether it's going to happen or not, just because that industry tends to be up and down. It's like it's having some kind of nervous breakdown right now. So,
well, for me, technically, the next, I'm putting the local conventions aside for a moment. As far as Trek heavy thing is Destination, which is still on the books for November in London. My tickets got automatically transferred to this year. And so, I rebooked the hotel, I rebooked the flight. Right. But at this point, the way things are, talking about nervous breakdowns in terms of travel, I have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah. We're already in September. So far, they just made a guest announcement dump several days ago as of this recording. So it seems like it's going to be happening. What's actually going to happen in a month and a half? Well, actually, 2 months exactly. We'll see. And then, cruise is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how, and that's kudos to ECP because they're extremely flexible and adaptable. How they're gonna change things around compared to 2020. Chicago, well, I usually have conventions, a convention fun, regardless of what convention it is. I've done the Mission New York convention, so if anything, it's going to be interesting to see how Mission Chicago is going to compare to Mission. There's going to be a lot of familiar faces, so I am certainly banking on having fun, just hanging with people.
Yeah, like I'm definitely planning on going to Chicago. I just haven't made firm plans yet. I'm like Steven. I want to play it by ear just to see what happens, because like I think at not the last minute, but I remember that the mask mandate in Vegas was very last minute. Like there was a whole bunch of people who just dumped out of Vegas just because they didn't want to wear masks all day long, which means everybody who was there wanted to be there that bad. So I think you guys had a great time no matter what. I'm not too happy if I have to wear a mask the whole time on the ship, so we'll see how that goes. I mean,
we'll see. I mean,
not to go.
let's just say, for those who are not following the Trek cruise side of announcements and everything, ECP did release a very clearly worded expression of preliminary protocols and their expectations, if you will, sort of like things that they can do, things that they cannot do at this point in time, relating to health protocols, which was very nicely, again, that they said, we cannot force anyone, they're going to be following CDC guidelines, whatever they may be in, February of 2022. So at this point, we shall see. I seem to think that the Trek cruise is a chartered cruise. It's not just purely Royal Caribbean, whatever their rules may be. I think I'm sure ECP is going to do the right thing. I think it kind of sounds like they're leaning towards, ensuring that people who are coming are all vaccinated. But again, at this point, we're all guessing. We still have quite a few months to go. We shall see what's going to happen at the time. Right now, I just need to live through that November and see what happens next.
Yeah, it really is a month at a time right now. Like even with work or, with any, it's always, you just got to play it by ear. And if there's anything we learned this year is to be a little more flexible and a little more patient.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the big thing that's coming up that's local to me is New York Comic Con, which is going to be, they shrunk it. It's not going to be this huge monster. They limited the audience that was, actually they did it in a somewhat strange way. First, they only offered the tickets on sale to those who were fan verified, and that's a feature of New York Comic Con. You have to have a fan verification account. Basically, it matches your name with the ticket. I suspect there are ways around it, but nevertheless, you cannot buy unless you have a fan verified account. So those who were fan verified in 2018, 2019 were the original pool of people who actually could purchase admission tickets. And just recently, they released another small pool of tickets, which I don't know how well the sales were because they kept advertising it as if there wasn't much interest. So I'm curious to see how the crowd is going to be. New York Comic Con is a very, very large convention. I think they topped 180,000 people one year. So is it going to be half capacity? Sort of like comparable. Well, it's like you can't compare it to Vegas. Vegas is a much smaller event, but same idea is like shrink the numbers, have far lesser crowds. Again, we shall see.
Yep. All right. So I think we should probably start wrapping up so that Steven can pass out.
Yeah. Well, it's something I did want to very quickly just to run through because the photo ops and the autographs, there was difference in how that was done. I mean, autographs less so, but photo ops certainly. And that is, of course, that if you can visualize how the photo ops happened in previous years, that's not how it was this year. And it was in some ways a little bit annoying. On the other hand, again, once it became sort of part of the routine, bang, 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 done. You did your photo op, picked up the thing later on, and buy a JPEG if you want to. But basically, they set up, if you can picture the photo op room, which is right as you enter the convention way, that's the first thing, on your right. There is actually a door to the outside, and that's where they would line up people inside that room, and then you would walk outside, and that would be a tent with some air conditioning, although that was a very question mark. Air conditioning was actually very hot on all days I found. And you go in there and there's a plexiglass screen. Probably, I'm going to say most of the photo ops, there were a couple of guest stars who opted not to have them, but for the most part there was that plexiglass in between. You go up, smile, have a picture, and walk out. And the reason why it was annoying, I mean, aside from the fact that you walk out in bright sun and quite a bit of heat, so for example my eyeglasses would turn dark, so I look like Ray Charles in a couple of my photo ops. Yeah, unfortunate. And another thing, the plexiglass was actually a stand-up construction. So as a matter of fact, well, everything was, the flashes that Chris uses, the lights, and the tent itself. My Odette Fair photo op, the one thing that I was dying, I wanted to meet Odette Fair so badly. And he's a tremendous guy. I mean, he should do more Star Trek conventions because he fits like a glove into this whole atmosphere. He's done conventions previously for like Mummy and other movies he's been into. But perfect. He was perfect on stage. So somebody bumped the light as Chris was taking my photo. So I actually have this line going down straight, like across my nose. So I look like Billy. Like I have half the face in the dark, half the face in the light. And so it's I didn't blink, so Chris didn't catch it. But unfortunately, I did not see that the photo was basically ruined until I picked up the shot. So the physical photo. So that was an interesting experience. But everything else, I've looked at the prints. A lot of the guests were having fun with the plexiglass. That they would do this quasi, Kirk Spock, holding hands across, against the glass. Somebody was just, kind of leaning against it. Somebody was kissing the people, so all sorts of things were happening. Quite a few guests were doing both regular photo ops and selfies. So, unless you wanted to do multiple official photo ops, you could do a regular photo op and then grab a selfie in the vendor room. I actually did that with Shoria Gadashlu, and it worked out great. So I have a fun one where she's kissing me against the plexiglass, and I have another one where we're just standing in the vendor room, in the vendor hall together.
It seemed like she was just having a blast. Like every
I was shocked that when they announced her that she was going to be there, she wasn't there on Wednesday, but she was there for the rest of the week. So Thursday through Sunday. I mean, she's quite a big name, but extremely kind and just happy to meet the fans. It was all about the fans. I mean, she was ready to sign everything, say anything, take photos, please do whatever you want. And she actually one of her handlers created like a small video of taking photos of her signing in the vendor room, and just put it together as sort of like thanks to the fans on her social media. So she definitely was enjoying herself.
Yeah, that's the one. Like, if I have any regrets, it's like I've always wanted to meet her, and it's her and David Tennant. There's two people I wanted to meet, and they just keep eluding me. So.
Well, speaking of that sort of experience, as far as photo ops and meeting folks, Eric and Jamie, did you get to do much of photo ops or anything, or met someone that you really wanted to this particular year?
Well, for me this year, I didn't do any photo ops, which I don't normally do a lot of those anyways. I'm more into autographs. But this year, I actually only got one autograph because I was just hanging out with people so much because I was just so glad to see everybody again. So this year was very light on that for me. I got to see Mary's husband, Noah. I can't remember his last name. I'm terrible with last names.
Everbert Cutts.
Yeah, that. So I was able to meet him. I really wanted to meet Penny Johnson, but I could never find her. And then someone else, I couldn't remember who it was I wanted to meet, but I never saw in there.
Yeah, so Penny Johnson was the one conflict that I mentioned in the beginning for me. They had two. Actually, no, scratch that. There was like 3 Voyager panels, one after another, and something else going on at the same time. And that's when she was also doing her signing and her photo ops. So thankfully, I got to meet her this past weekend in New Jersey because I really wanted to get a photo op with her. But in Vegas, she, oh God, they put her in the back of the main theater. Maybe that's why you didn't find her, because she did a fairly lengthy signing that would mostly coincided with the Voyager cast panel on Sunday. And I can't remember when her photo ops were. Yeah, she's wonderful, and I've never actually. I'm surprised that she hasn't been to Vegas. I mean, I don't know if she's ever been to Vegas. As a matter of fact, she must have. I've seen pictures of her together with doing photo ops together with Avery Brooks and Sarah Clofton. Eric, what about you? Yeah, that's been a while. Yeah, Eric, what about you? Photo ops?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I have a couple thoughts on this. So I did do a couple selfies and I did one professional shot. With the mask environment, I really didn't want to take a face mask picture. So I was very glad that all the selfies I could do, were the quick, let's take off our mask and put them back on. And my one professional photo op, I really lucked out. I was with Kelsey and he didn't do masks or the plexiglass. Mm-hmm. So that's a beautiful, perfectly normal, you wouldn't even know it was a COVID year photo op. It came out really nice. When I was looking at the photos, and you've seen a lot, I realized it was maybe sort of a last minute thing, the plexiglass, because you kind of saw over time, it's kind of started to droop and warp and maybe leak a little bit as the week went on. But when I was in the photograph pickup room early one morning, I heard some people talking, and I don't know if they were part of Chris's staff or creation staff, but they were talking about that plexiglass, and they were saying, yeah, that is not a good setup.
And here's something that to as a comparison. So I got to chat with Chris in New Jersey. Now the screen that they used in New Jersey was hanging. There was actually sort of like imagine sort of like an upside down L-shaped metal thing that was holding it from above. And not only it was thinner, so it was less visible in photos, it obviously moved far less. So the Chris told me, he said that was something that he wanted to use in Vegas as well, and there was no way to arrange it so that it would fit inside that tent that they had to use, because that it just, they could only do a certain height inside. So that's a very unfortunate thing, and like I said, it ruined my Odette Fair photo.
That's a shame. But and on the flip side, I'm sure you saw when you got your autograph from Odette, he was wonderfully personal.
He's terrific. And as a matter of fact, that he was having so much fun just meeting people and talking to them. He did not realize how big his line got. At some point, my sister, I had to step away, so she was holding my things, and I come back and she's laughing. And I said, what happened? She said, the handler that was sitting with Odette just told him, he's like, you know what, we maybe should be picking up a little bit. Look how big the line got. And Odette looked up and finally saw how many people were standing, and he just went, oh, vey.
He was very chatty. He found something to chat with everyone. I mean, he asked you a question. He's asking, he's trying to pull information out of you to start a conversation. I was like, okay, thank you.
Generally speaking, I have to say, like, pretty much everyone who came, and especially the ones who were sitting in the vendors room where you can just go up and literally have a wonderful, in many cases, very lengthy conversation. Even those who were, repeat guests, it was just genuinely fun. They were having fun meeting people, and all the fans were having wonderful time meeting all of them. The area in the farther left corner of the vendor room, that's where the Cool Waters Productions actors were sitting. So Shori was there, Janet Kidder was there, the general, I forgot his name, I'm sorry, the actor who plays Linus on Discovery. They were just, like I said, it's like a little hubbub of fun. And then once the Discovery folks showed up, and they were sitting right across the way on the opposite side, it was like they were having like a mini party. Ken was just driving around in his chair, and he had pre-recorded, give me a hug or something like that. And it was just such a delight seeing all of them again. So it was
that makes me want to switch the topic a little bit here, if we can say so. To the three of us, I'd be curious, what is your top one or two convention moments this year?
Well, Jamie, you go ahead. I have to think about it.
I think for me, it would have to be just seeing my friends again. That was the biggest thing. It was just because I missed everybody so much. Last year was such like a big gap in everyone's life, and I guess that was my biggest thing. I know that's not directly convention related, but it was just nice to see everybody again.
Marina, do you want to go, or do you want to think?
Totally. It has to be the meetups. Like the panels were great. We can certainly call out, the panel with Kelsey, even though he got somewhat criticized, I saw on Twitter. but I thought it was a very
Correct.
nice discussion of his career, not just this
Yeah.
one cameo that he did in Star Trek. That was a delight. That's the first time that I actually met him in person.
Yeah, I agree.
Odette
I thought it was a very good presentation.
yeah, it was a really good interview that Adam did. Yeah. They certainly Odette, pretty much. I'm gonna say all the panel. I really enjoy Ian Spelling's hosting. Those panels, like generally whoever he had on, were always a highlight because it was always a very solid conversation. I really, really was thrilled to see Jerry Taylor. That was certainly a highlight. The fact that, I mean, she's in her 80s, she's sharp as a tack. She got fantastic questions during her panel, both as part of the smaller one that she did with Voyager documentary people and the one that she had by herself on the main in the main theater. And of course, I actually got to meet her afterwards. She was doing some complimentary signing. So that was certainly a great treat and wonderful to see her. And it's tremendous to see that, incidentally, that the Voyager documentary is ongoing. They got already interviewed quite a lot of people for it. But going back to what Jamie said, meeting other folks, the meetups that I had this week were just all highlights. Yesenia had a small meetup going. The folks who well, the craft swap, even though I actually managed to miss this because I just had so much going on. Our little cruise group with Garrett Wong, Walk and Fries, we had a nice dinner together. Our little group from the former Chicago attendees, from the Chicago convention, the Creation used to have a Phantom Battalion. We had multiple actually meetups during the week. So on and on and on. I can't remember the last time my social calendar would be this busy. Like literally, like Friday, I think I was invited to 4 things that were happening at the same time, and it was like, well, do you think I can actually manage it? I did manage to hit 3. I'm very proud of that. But 4th one I had to bow out because there was just no way to physically make it to. That was a trivia game that Ellen Ingman put together. So that is just, again, going back to what we talked in the beginning, it was an incredibly full week. There was just a lot happening, and it was great to just see and spend time with everyone.
Great.
I'm gonna be different because how I am in the beginning. I'm so laser focused on the convention, so my things are gonna be specific to the convention. And the first thing that always comes to mind, and there was a lot of talk about that, is just Ken. Ken Mitchell just was just amazing at the convention. Just his spirit and just how he perseveres and just is so positive and makes us laugh and makes us cry at the same time. It's just so powerful, his presence at the convention, at least I thought. So I'm getting a little choked up now thinking about it. So
he was.
I went over and spoke to him, and I was definitely tearing at the entire time because he's just like such an inspiration, and he's such an amazing person. It's really awful what he's had to go through, but he's doing well. He's an amazing person. He'll be good.
Yep.
Yeah, Eric, you remember in Puerto Rico where he just kind of just like dived into our walking tour Puerto Rico and
yep. God, it's amazing just how much he's changed, man. It's just life. Embrace life, live life. But
man, seriously.
He's been announced as a guest for the cruise, so I'm certainly looking forward to seeing him again because he's just joy personified.
All right, so for those of us who didn't attend, so Stephen, like, what did you miss most about not being at an in-person convention where you have other people, other friends that were there?
Well, I really missed the opportunity to be able to mingle with my Star Trek community, to be able to have the opportunity to make new friends. It's just, I've really, really missed that. And I mean, as much as you guys and everyone else has been able to post some absolutely fabulous pictures and stories and experiences, I really miss that. One other thing I really miss too is I often sort of browse around the vendor area and the various places, and I like to sit and chat with the various different artists that are around, and I find I end up through every day going back to have a chat with them every day. one of my favorites I did a few years ago was with Stephen Manley. And just every day I was going to the vendor room, just chatting, how you going, sharing stories and experiences. I found I just grew a bond with people like him. And I've really missed that. But I'm hoping things will open up soon. I'll be able to get back into that again.
Yeah. Keeping fingers
that's
crossed.
great.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it's almost similar for me, like almost verbatim. It's the people. But especially the vendors room. So, these vendors come year after year and you get to know them. I don't necessarily buy something from all of them, but you get to know them. And I especially this year missed Fine Arts. I got one of their lithographs of the Voyager cast, including casts, sitting in my living room. But visiting with Lisa from Fine Arts every year has just been, she's just a joy, and these people are just as much fans as we are. It's just they have to work during the day and they get to slush around and drink at night. So,
Yeah.
but they become just as close friends as anybody. These faces you see cruise to cruise, convention to convention, place to place. So, I would say, sorry, Star Trek actors, but like I really just missed my Star Trek friends, basically. So with that, Marina, I think we can start closing up.
Actually, yeah, because we, for the most part, again, so the basically the word of the week was, community, meeting people again, seeing everyone again. It was delightful, and I'm certainly looking forward to next year. I'm kind of hoping with every fiber of my being that things will be different next year.
Yep.
Well, we'll see.
No,
Meanwhile,
yeah.
I have to admit, I already booked Bally's.
Same here.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
technically speaking, I suppose I should say that I have the cruise booked in Chicago and Bally's.
Wait, you have the
Lots of
cruise
things to-
books?
Yeah, the pandemic skipped the year. Well,
Okay.
actually, almost 2 years for my sister and I. So I'm curious to see again how different it's going to be. It's a different ship, but it's the same class.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
assuming
just missed your reversal of thought on that one. So that's okay. Good to see you on the
it
boat.
was, yeah, it took some time and a lot of pro and con lists between my sister and I, and we basically figured, again, the fact that ECP is so adaptable. So I'm assuming we're going to see completely different approach to the way they did the photo ops and autographing. And I would certainly hope that they had a chat with Royal Caribbean as far as the food situation. So, but again, we shall see what's going to happen next year.
Yeah,
Well, we know.
if you look at current topics on the cruise site, it's changing, ever changing. So I think we don't know what we don't know, but they'll work to keep us happy. That's for sure.
I was gonna say, since I'm not a part of guac and fries, I didn't have that problem. I mean, it's like I can always find something to eat. I love to eat.
Well, let me rephrase it. I like to eat good food.
Ooh.
With good being in big letters without quotation marks.
Well, I guess I'm a seasoned buffet eater. Dad and I go to a lot of casino buffets when they're open because we got a lot of casino buffets around here. So
yeah. So
I guess
anyway,
I don't have high standards.
So it's lots of planning, and I'm kind of like mildly terrified because it's starting to remind me of the sort of situation I was in beginning of 2020 when I had the entire year planned out, and things, of course, went very much sideways. But keeping fingers crossed. And again, I'm just looking forward to seeing more folks, and perhaps meeting some of the actors that I haven't met before or met previously, but I still enjoy meeting them again and again and again. We'll see what happens. So now that we're at the end of this, we usually do the sort of traditional where can people find you online bit. Let's start with Stephen.
Well, you can find me online. I mostly use Instagram, so all the way with Stevie J. That's my handle.
Oh my.
All right,
George, we need another one.
I love it.
That's great. Jamie, what about you?
I'm on a little bit of everything, mostly Facebook. I'm on Instagram, but I don't post much. Instagram is ncbio1701. I think that's about it. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really post anything. Mostly I just follow other people, retweet stuff like that.
Eric, what about you?
I do not have a wide online social presence. I'm pretty much just on Facebook. So if you really want to look me up, that's where I'm at. And I'm the admin of a couple groups that are Trek related. So you can find me, as I said earlier, the STLV USS Rio group, the Queer Trek group, or if you happen to be interested, the Star Trek Cruise Introverts page. So got some options.
All right. And Jesse, you?
I am at Outrageous Okendo, OUTRAJESOKENDO. Or just look for Jesse on the Star Trek Convention Experiences group, the former STLV group. I'm all over the Facebooks. I think you'll find me there.
And you can find me on Facebook. I'm also one of the admins for that same Star Trek Convention Experiences group. I also restarted the small group that was created for the missions New York specifically, and just made it more generic. So hopefully, some more specific information for the Chicago convention is also going to be posted. It's unofficial missions convention group. And of course, you can find Shoreleave both on Facebook and on Twitter at Shoreleave. And our usual piece of information is that Shoreleave is part of the Tricorder Transmissions Network. If you enjoy what we do here on Shoreleave or any of other sister shows on Tricorder Transmissions Network, consider joining our Patreon. You can go directly to patreon.com/the Tricorder Transmissions, or visit our network webpage, which is www.thetricordertransmissions.com, and click on the Patreon link. And we thank all our Patreons and all our listeners. Thank you very much for sticking with us. Shoreleave has been certainly in the lurch with the lack of conventions to cover, but hopefully the circuit will come alive again, and we'll just keep on tracking.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. And just live long and prosper and enjoy your best Star Trek life.
Same to you. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you very much and have fun.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.